Hello, the peace of our God to all. My name Gilson Goncalves da Silva, evangelist of the House of the Lord Cathedral of the Assembly of God in the Parque São Bento Belford Roxo, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The story of the next king of Judah, called Ahaziah, son of Joram and Athaliah. Ahaziah was evil in the sight of the Lord. It is at this moment that subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate notifications by pressing the bell. So let's go to the video. Ahaziah's accession to the throne, death of his father Joram. Ahaziah, the only surviving son of the king, took over the throne of Judah, becoming the sixth monarch ruling the southern kingdom. The transition of power took place at one time crisis and uncertainty to help with a nation facing so many external threats, such as discontent internal. Ahaziah was only 22 years old when he was crowned king, and his reign lasted only 1 year, marked by impetuous turbulence that accelerated your fall. From a young age, Ahaziah was deeply influenced by her mother, Athaliah, a woman of strong personality, excessive ambitions. She was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, a notorious queen of Israel known for promoting the spirit to Baal and for opposing the prophets of the God of Israel. Thus, the legacy of idolatry and corruption surrounded the house of Ahab, its overextending to Judah by way of Athaliah. Under the influence of his mother, Ahaziah, he grew up in the midst of idolatry. The coronation of Ahaziah had an opportunity to expand their influence and consolidate power in Judah. As the queen mother, she manipulated the affairs of the kingdom. He encouraged his son to follow the same of his predecessors in the kingdom of North. Idolatry intensified during the reign of Ahaziah, with altars dedicated to Baal and other accomplishments arising in various parts of the territory. Religious practices, away from the precepts of God, have become common, and the people were led to follow these customs. Foreigners. In addition to falling into idolatry, Ahaziah also formed dangerous alliances with the northern kingdom, ruled by its maternal family. These alliances, motivated in part because of family ties to the house of Ahab, brought Judah near to the customs and sins of Israel. Ahaziah, he believed that a union with the kingdom of North could strengthen its position and secure protection against the threats of the enemies, especially the Syrians. But these decisions ultimately led Israel's lack of experience of leadership, combined with their dependence and orientation on Athaliah and the negative influence of the northern kingdom. He quickly turned his reign into a period of apostasy and decline. Spiritual life in Judah. The promise of a just and faithful government to the Lord, as David's was left by a weak and people who have strayed from the principles God's people and practices. The warnings of the prophets were not heeded. Idolatry has gained more and more space in the life of the people of Israel. The covenant with Jehoram, king of Israel, Ahaziah, the throne of Judah, found a kingdom weak, both spiritual and militarily, looking for ways to strengthen his power and protect Judah from increasing threats, decided to ally with the northern kingdom, ruled by his uncle Joram, son of Ahab and Jezebel. The alliance between the two kingdoms seemed natural given the family relationship, but also it implied a military strategy important to face Rezil, the new and ambitious king of Syria, who was decided to expand its territory. The city of Hamath Gilead, located in the eastern region of the Jordan River, was a strategic point in conflict between Israel and Syria. Years ago, Ahaziah's alliance with Joram was aimed at joining forces to recover this territory and stop the Syrian advance. Ahaziah believed that a victory, the military, would not only strengthen its reign, but also solidifies ties between Judah and Israel. However, this alliance would be dangerous, for Ahaziah associated himself with a dynasty marked by idolatry and opposition to the prophets of God. The battle at Ramoth Gilead was, and the armies of Israel and Judah, they faced strong resistance from the Syrians during the fighting. Joram was seriously wounded by an arrow and had then to be taken from the battlefield. Ahaziah worried about the condition of his strength. He decided to visit him at Jezreel, where Joram was recovering from his injuries. This decision to accompany Joram in a critical moment declared loyalty not only familiar but also political. While was in Jezreel, Ahaziah not only he offered support to Joram, but also became involved in the political affairs of the kingdom from the north. The influence of Jezebel and Israel's religious culture continued infiltrating the life of Ahaziah. moving further away from the paths of God. Prophets and faithful priests in Judah warned of the dangers of following in Israel's footsteps. But Ahaziah was committed to his alliance with Joram, ignoring signs that your decision he was leading Judah on a path of apostasy. The alliance with Joram strengthened ties with the northern kingdom, but had serious consequences for mating. And Judah, associating himself with a house full of idolatry, he brought upon himself and his kingdom the same expression that hung the descendants of Ahab. Participation of caresses with the kingdom of north would become a crucial point for the tragic events that would follow, culmination and a spiritual decay worse and more degrading than the village was. Jehu rose up against the house of Ahab, while Ahaziah was in Jezreel offering support to his uncle, recovering from injuries sustained in Ramoth-Gilead. The decisive movement it was happening in Israel. Jehu, one commander of the army, was anointed by the disciples of the prophet Elisha, fulfilling a command given by God to remove the house of Ahab and purify the kingdom of idolatry. This anointing gave Jehu divine authority to act as God's instrument of judgment, a corrupt and idolatrous dynasty, with a sense of urgency for a clear mission. He left immediately for Jezreel and declared the protest of Joram, and by eliminating any remaining influence of Finish. As he approached Jezreel, he saw Jehu coming from afar. Joram, still weakened, decided to leave in your car to find the commander and ask about their Ahaziah, who was with him, accompanied Joram, not knowing that the events that would take place there would seal his fate. When Joram found out that Jehu, he did not come in peace but with interest of revenge and justice, tried to escape desperately, exclaiming, "Jehu, betrayal, treason." However, there was no way to escape. Jehu fired a well-aimed arrow, hitting Joram in the heart and killing him instantly. Ahaziah, seeing death, his uncle realized the imminent danger, and he also tried to flee the scene, turned your car to Beth-Hag, desperately trying to escape the trial approaching. Jehu, he was not willing to leave Ahaziah escape so easily. He ordered his men pursued him. And the king of Judah began the flight of Ahaziah. It was short. He was wounded near Gur, near Gibeon, and managed to escape to the city where he died, due to injuries. The reign of Ahaziah, it ended tragically, with only one reign. His death marked not only the end of his brief leadership, but also the beginning of a period of idolatry for the people of Judah. The fall of Ahaziah, the devastating impact of the decisions he and his family made as they turned away from God's ways. With the house of Ahab and idolatry brought judgment upon him, and his line, the destiny of Ahaziah, served as a reminder to Judah, thus consequences of turning away from the Lord and align with those who are disobedient and already have one predisposition to the sin of disobedience. After the death of Ahaziah, the situation in Judah became chaotic. His mother Athaliah, he had the opportunity to take power and establish their own government. Determined to eliminate any threat his dominion, Athaliah attempted the extermination of all the royal seed of David. He sought to consolidate the throne for himself, destroy any legitimate inheritance which could bring danger to your attempt, have absolute power in your hands. However, one child was saved from this slaughter. Joash, the son of Ahaziah, was rescued by his aunt Jezebah, wife of the priest Jehoiada. She hid the child in the temple of the Lord, where he hid safely for 6 years, while Athaliah Judah ruled with an iron hand. Athaliah's reign was marked by an increase of idolatry and not encouragement to the god Baal. Beyond to chase the worship of the God of Israel, the temple of Lies. The man who was the center of inspiration in Jerusalem, it was arranged for the worship of idols. The altars were built to face God, and the people of Judah suffered. Government of Athaliah, seeing deviation, the nation's spiritual and moral decay that settled. However, there was a hope hidden in the temple, hope that Joaz
one day would come to ascend to the throne of Judah. Over the years, the priest Jehoiada, who had protected Joaz and guaranteed his safety in the temple, began planning to restore the rightful throne of Judah. Knew that the hour of collapse and oppressive reign from Athaliah, he approached with Thevling. Be careful. Javier started a meeting of among the priests, Levites, and leaders of the army, forming a conspiracy to crown Joash as the legitimate king. The strategy involved keep the preparations a secret, so that Athaliah would not suspect anything. On the appointed day, Jehoiada celebrated a special ceremony in the temple, where Joaz he would be crowned before the people and anointed as the true heir of David, with the support of the loyal troops and the fourth, the priest. The Jehoiada priests planned to surround the palace where nerves were frayed. The people could no longer bear the reign of Ahaziah, and while the preparations there was a sense of hope, and among the faithful who longed for the end of the tyrannical rule of Ahaziah, a restoration of the worship of the Lord and return to the covenant with God were the burning desires of the people. Joaz is anointed king of Judah, 2 Chronicles chapter 23 verses 1 to 11. In the 7th year, Jehoiada summoned the captains of the Creos and the guard, meeting them at the house of the Breziel. He made a covenant with the Lord to swear an oath in the presence of the Lord. Authority would be ecclesiastical, he ordered. This is what you must do. A third of you who go into service on the Sabbath, they are responsible for guarding the royal palace. Another third was at the door south, and the rest at the door behind the guard. They will protect and defend this palace. The two groups that finish the service on Saturday must protect the house of the Lord. Beside the king, you must surround the king, each armed. The captains, out of 100, they obeyed all instructions of the priest Jehoiada. Each instructions from his soldiers, both those who they began, like those who ended, the service on the Sabbath, and those brought to the Father. Jehoiada delivered the captains, 100, the spears and shields which belonged to King David, and which were in the house of the Lord, the guards armed, on the side from the royal house, to the left side encompassing the altar and the temple, forming a circle around the king. Then Jehoiada and Joaz the king's son brought him, and put the crown upon his head, and gave him the book of the testimony. And they made him king. They anointed, applauded, exclaiming, "Long live the king! Long live the king! Long live the king! Forever!" When Ahaziah heard the noise of the guards and the people, he went to where they were, to the house of the Lord. Captains and trumpet players, they were on the king's side. And all the people exulted, wishing life to the king! Life to the king! Ahaziah then exclaimed, "Treason! Treason!" But Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains of the troops, saying, "Bring her out among the ranks, and kill her, but not the kill in the house of the Lord." Then they grabbed her and took her along the way from the entrance of the horses to the palace reel, where she was murdered. Jehoiada divided a covenant between the Lord, the king, and the village, committing to be the people of Reir. He also made an alliance between the king and the people. Thus all the people of the earth entered the temple of Baal, tearing down and destroying their altars and images. They killed the priest of Baal in front of the altar itself. The priest Jehoiada put guards in the house of the Lord, gathered the captains of the Creos guard and all the people of the earth, and all they led the king from the house of the Lord to the royal palace, through the door of Gibel. Then Joaz sat on the throne kings, and all the people of the earth rejoiced. The city was quiet after the execution, Athaliah's sword by the palace reel. Joaz was only 7 years old when he began to reign in Judah. If you like this narrative and want to know more, the history of the kings of Judah and their lessons, subscribe to our channel. It's very easy. Just click on the sign up button below. Leave your like if this video spoke to your heart, and share your reflections in the comments. We want to know, what did you think, and how did this story impacted your life? And not lose without update, activate the notifications so you will stay for inside all the new videos full of teachings and messages of promise. Until next time, God bless them.